Every relocation video on YouTube has the same energy. Don't move here. Avoid this state. Run from this city before your insurance doubles and your property taxes eat your retirement. I've made those videos. You've watched those videos. And they're useful. But here is what nobody makes a video about. The towns that actually want you there. Not tolerate you. Not grudgingly accept that you are driving up their home prices and crowding their favorite restaurant. Towns that will literally hand you a check, assign you a local buddy, invite you to a welcome mixer, and treat your arrival like it matters. Because to them, it does. Here's what changed. Before 2020, fewer than 10 communities in the entire country offered financial incentives for individuals to relocate. Today, that number is over 200. Cities and towns across America, mostly in the Midwest, the South, and Appalachia, are competing for people the way they used to compete for factories. And the data says it is working. Make My Move, the largest platform connecting movers with relocation programs, reports that about 90% of incentive program movers stay after their first year. 70% are still there after year 3. These are not tourists. They are putting down roots. And here is the why now. Remote work did not just change where people can live. It changed which towns have leverage. For the first time, a town of 15,000 can recruit a software engineer making $140,000 a year, and that person's entire salary flows into the local economy. Restaurants, dentists, property taxes, Little League sponsorships. One remote worker can generate $83,000 in annual economic output for a small town. Multiply that by 100 households and you have just resurrected a main street. This list covers 10 towns that are not just open to newcomers. They are organized around welcoming them, ranked by how seriously they have invested in making outsiders feel like insiders. And number 1, they have relocated over 3,500 people, generated over $600 million in economic impact, and every dollar they spent came back fourfold. Picture this. You pull into a town you have never visited. A local you have never met picks you up, shows you the coffee shop the regulars swear by, introduces you to the person who runs the co-working space, and by Friday you are at a neighborhood barbecue arguing about college football with people who already know your name. That is not a fantasy. That is a Tuesday in several of these towns. Subscribe like your next zip code depends on it. Let's break it down. Number 10. Mattoon, Illinois. Mattoon is 3 hours south of Chicago and about 40 years behind it in attitude. And I mean that as the highest possible compliment. This is a town of 16,000 people in east central Illinois, surrounded by farmland, anchored by a small downtown, and quietly confident that it has something the big cities lost. Mattoon's relocation package through Make My Move offers $5,000 in cash, plus a $500 voucher for local restaurants. That's not life-changing money, but it's a signal. It says we want you here badly enough to put a dollar amount on it. Median home prices sit around $115,000. You can buy a 3-bedroom house here for what a studio apartment costs in Chicago. Median household income is roughly $45,000, and the cost of living runs about 20% below the national average. The town is home to Lakeland College and sits along Interstate 57, so it's not as isolated as it sounds. Healthcare access includes Sarah Bush Lincoln Health Center, a regional hospital that serves the area. I'm not saying Mattoon is glamorous. I'm just saying it's the kind of place where a $500 restaurant voucher actually gets you into every good spot in town at least twice. And if a $5,000 welcome sounds modest, the next town on this list quintuples it. Number 9. Newton, Iowa. Newton used to be a company town. Maytag. Washers and dryers, the whole operation. Headquarters, factory, identity. Then Whirlpool bought Maytag in 2006 and moved everything out. Newton lost its largest employer and about 10% of its population in the decade that followed. What it did not lose was its stubbornness. Today, Newton offers a $10,000 cash incentive for anyone who buys a home valued at $240,000 or more. The town has about 15,000 residents. Median home prices run around $175,000. Median household income is approximately $52,000. The cost of living sits roughly 15% below the national average. Newton is 30 miles east of Des Moines, close enough to access a metro job market, but far enough to avoid metro prices. The town has reinvested in its downtown, added a co-working space, and positioned itself as a landing pad for remote workers who want space, quiet, and an extra 10 grand in their pocket. One local put it perfectly when they said, "Newton is not trying to be Des Moines. It is trying to be the best version of Newton." Shout out to a town that lost its washing machine empire and decided to clean up its own future instead. And if reinvention sounds appealing, the next entry literally exists in 2 states at once. Number 8. Texarkana. Texarkana is the only city in America where you can stand in 2 states and still not be able to decide where to eat. Straddling the Arkansas and Texas border, this metro of about 70,000 people has turned its geographic quirk into a recruiting pitch. Through Make My Move, Texarkana offers remote workers up to $5,000 in cash, plus a 25% tuition discount at Texas A&M Texarkana or the University of Arkansas Texarkana. The total incentive package is valued at over $18,000. Median home prices are around $185,000. Median household income is roughly $48,000. Cost of living runs about 18% below the national average. Here's the data nobody leads with. Texarkana does not just throw money at newcomers and hope for the best. One program participant, a young professional from Miami, used the tuition benefit to finish his bachelor's degree while working remotely. Another, a woman in her 50s, enrolled in a welding course at Texarkana College to incorporate metalwork into her art practice. Both were tuition-free through the program. Healthcare access includes Christus St. Michael Health System and several regional clinics. The town is not flashy, but it is affordable. It is warm, and it has figured out that welcoming people means giving them something to grow into, not just a check to cash. And if you think a tuition benefit is creative, the next town gives you a VIP pass to the entire community. Notice a pattern here. Every town so far has done the same thing. They looked at population decline or economic stagnation and decided that instead of waiting for a factory or a headquarters to save them, they would recruit individual people, one household at a time. But here's what separates a good relocation program from a great one. It is not the check. It is what happens after you cash it. The next 7 towns on this list have figured that part out. If you are learning something, hit like. It tells the algorithm this is not just another listicle. And the number 1 spot generated over $600 million in economic impact. I am not exaggerating. Number 7, Richmond, Indiana. Richmond has a walk of fame, not for celebrities, for jazz and blues musicians who recorded at the Gennett record studio there in the 1920s. Louis Armstrong, Hoagy Carmichael. The Gennett legacy put Richmond on the cultural map a century ago. Today, the town is using a different kind of recording to get noticed. Richmond's relocation package offers $5,000 plus a VIP community pass that includes a year of co-working space at Main Street, Richmond, membership to the local Chamber of Commerce, a month at Forest Hills Country Club, and a welcome from the mayor's office. The population is roughly 35,000. Median home prices sit around $130,000. Median income is approximately $40,000. Cost of living is about 25% below the national average. Richmond sits on the Indiana-Ohio border, about an hour east of Indianapolis. It has a walkable historic downtown, an annual ice sculpture festival, and a rose garden where at least one Make My Move participant reportedly got married. What it feels like is a town that figured out something most cities never learn. You do not just attract people, you absorb them. The VIP pass is not about perks, it is about removing the awkwardness of being new. When the Chamber of Commerce knows your name before you have finished unpacking, that is not an incentive program. That is a community strategy. And if Richmond rolls out the red carpet, the next entry does something even harder. It asks you to believe in a place that most of America has written off. Number 6, Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky has been losing people for decades. Coal declined, jobs vanished. Young people moved to Lexington, Louisville, or out of the state entirely. The population numbers tell a familiar Appalachian story. But here's what nobody tells you. Eastern Kentucky built a relocation program that Make My Move named one of America's most welcoming places. The program, centered in communities like Whitesburg and Hazard, offers up to $8,800 in incentives for remote workers. That includes cash, co-working access, and outdoor recreation perks. But here's the part that makes it unique in the entire country. If your partner gets a qualifying local job in healthcare or education, they receive an additional $2,500 bonus. No other relocation program in America incentivizes a spouse's employment like that. Median home prices in the region hover around $95,000. You can buy a house with a mountain view for less than a new truck. Median income is approximately $28,000, and the cost of living runs about 30% below the national average. Healthcare is a real consideration here. Access varies by county, and some areas require significant drives to reach a hospital. But the communities are investing in telehealth infrastructure, and the program is transparent about the trade-offs. Picture this: a morning fog lifting off Pine Mountain, a porch with a view that costs less than a parking spot in most cities, your laptop open, your coffee hot, and a community that did not just survive its own decline. It decided to invite the world in. That takes courage most places do not have. And if courage defines Eastern Kentucky, the next entry takes a completely different approach. They do not just welcome you, they vet you. Number 5. Columbus, Georgia. Columbus, Georgia does not just accept your application. They interview you. Kylie Grilla, the project manager at Columbus 2025, personally conducts interviews with prospective movers. She learns about your background, your interests, your reasons for considering Columbus. The city's philosophy is that a successful relocation is a match, not a transaction. Columbus, with a population of about 200,000, launched its recruitment campaign and received over 7,000 applications. They selected 12. That is not a typo. Out of 7,000 applicants, they chose 12 households they felt confident would not just move, but put down roots. They have since expanded, recruiting another 24 households. Once newcomers arrive, they are connected through the Columbus Connectors program, which pairs new residents with longtime locals who share similar interests or professional backgrounds. The city also hosts mover mixers where new arrivals meet local leaders and business stakeholders. Median home prices are roughly $210,000. Median income is about $47,000. The cost of living is approximately 12% below the national average. Fort Moore, formerly Fort Benning, is a major economic anchor. Healthcare access is solid, with Piedmont Columbus Regional and St. Francis Emory Healthcare serving the area. What Columbus figured out is something most relocation programs miss. You can pay someone to show up. You cannot pay them to stay, but you can make the staying part feel inevitable by making sure they land in a community that actually fits. I am not saying Columbus is picky. I am just saying they treat relocation like matchmaking, and their retention rates suggest the dates are going well. And if Columbus selects you like a casting director, the next town recruited an entire artistic movement. Number 4. Paducah, Kentucky. Paducah, Kentucky shares a UNESCO Creative City designation with London, Buenos Aires, and Beijing. Population, 27,000. That's not a typo. In 2000, Paducah launched the Artist Relocation Program in its Lower Town neighborhood. The area was blighted. 51% of residents lived in poverty. Drug activity was common. Houses were falling apart. The city offered dilapidated properties to artists for as little as $1, $1 plus $2,500 in architectural fee assistance, and 100% financing through a local bank partnership. Over 75 artists relocated. They brought studios, galleries, and foot traffic. The result was over $30 million in private investment from roughly $2 million of city money. Paducah now also offers remote workers up to $2,500 in moving expense reimbursement, a 12-month waiver on the city's 2% payroll tax, and $70 a month for internet. Median home prices run about $165,000. Median income is approximately $38,000. The cost of living is roughly 20% below the national average. The town sits at the confluence of the Ohio and Tennessee rivers. It has 50 life-sized murals downtown, the National Quilt Museum, and was named the Mecca of Quilting, a title I did not know existed but now desperately want to visit. Healthcare includes Baptist Health Paducah and Mercy Health Lourdes. That's the Paducah paradox. A town of 27,000 that treated its worst neighborhood like an opportunity, handed artists the keys for $1, and ended up on a list with global capitals. If Paducah proves that small towns can think big, the next 3 prove they can think even bigger. Here's what separates the remaining 3 entries from everything else on this list. The towns we've covered so far are welcoming, genuinely. But the top 3 have turned welcoming into an economic development strategy with national-scale data behind it. These aren't experiments anymore. They are models. And the results are changing how economists think about population growth entirely. If you're still watching, subscribe. This channel doesn't just tell you where to go, it tells you why it matters. The number 1 entry on this list returned $4 for every dollar invested. I'm not exaggerating. Stay with me. Number 3. Noblesville, Indiana. Noblesville has a concert venue that used to hold twice the town's population. Ruoff Music Center, originally called Deer Creek, was built in the late 1980s when Noblesville had about 25,000 residents and the venue held 25,000 fans. The town caught up. Noblesville now has over 75,000 residents and is Indiana's 9th largest city. It is one of the fastest growing suburbs of Indianapolis. The Welcome Home to Noblesville program offers a $5,000 relocation grant, a $500 health and wellness stipend, a year of co-working space at Cohatch, memberships to Connor Prairie Living History Museum, the Noblesville Chamber of Commerce, and a Parks Pass. Total package value is roughly $15,000. Median home price is around $365,000. Median household income is approximately $102,000. This is not a struggling town offering money out of desperation. It is a thriving suburb that realized growth requires intention. Make My Move's internal modeling found that Noblesville's $15,000 incentive attracted 102 households with an average income of $138,000 and generated over $10.6 million in annual economic impact. Noblesville's mayor recalled meeting a Make My Move family at a local farmer's market. They told him the program changed their lives, that their kids came home from school happy for the first time. The mother was in tears. The mayor admitted he almost was too. Noblesville has since expanded its approach into a Noble Welcome initiative for anyone moving there, not just remote workers. That's the difference between a program and a philosophy. And if Noblesville proved the economics, the next entry proved something harder. That you can make people fall in love with the last state they'd ever consider. Number 2. The Greenbrier Valley, West Virginia. West Virginia's pitch to remote workers isn't a spreadsheet. It's a whitewater raft. Ascend West Virginia, founded by former Intuit Chief Executive Officer Brad Smith and his wife Alice through a $25 million gift to West Virginia University, offers relocating remote workers $12,000 in cash plus over $8,000 in outdoor recreation experiences. Whitewater rafting, ziplining, skiing, horseback riding, 2 years of adventure, funded. The program now spans 6 communities across the state, including the Greenbrier Valley, Morgantown, the Eastern Panhandle, Greater Elkins, New River Gorge, and as of September 2025, Charleston. Since launching, Ascend has drawn more than 65,000 applicants from 108 countries. Over 900 people have relocated, bringing nearly 1,000 additional family members. The retention rate is above 96%. Participants report an average individual annual income exceeding $97,000. 36% have purchased homes. 13 babies have been born to Ascend families in West Virginia so far. In 2 years, the program has generated an estimated $500 million in economic impact. Median home prices in the Greenbrier Valley area run about $180,000. The cost of living is roughly 25% below the national average. Healthcare access varies by community, but regional hospitals serve the major towns. Here's what Ascend figured out that most programs haven't. People don't move for money. They move for a story they can tell themselves about who they're becoming. West Virginia offered an identity: outdoor adventurer, mountain community member, someone who traded the commute for a kayak. The $12,000 in cash is nice, but the 2 years of free rafting is what gets people on the phone with their landlord. That's the Greenbrier Valley pitch, and it's working. But the #1 town on this list didn't just recruit newcomers. It rewrote the playbook for every city in America. Number 1. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa paid 3,500 people to move there, and almost all of them stayed. Tulsa Remote launched in 2018 before the pandemic. Before remote work became a national conversation, and before any of the programs on this list existed, the George Kaiser Family Foundation offered remote workers $10,000 to move to Tulsa for at least a year, plus a 3-year membership to a local co-working space. They expected modest interest, but they got over 20,000 applications in the first 2 recruitment waves alone. Here's the data nobody leads with. A 2025 study found that Tulsa Remote generated more than $4 in local economic benefits for every single dollar spent. The program has collectively delivered over $622 million to Tulsa's economy. Participants do not just spend locally. They start businesses, they hire, and they create demand for services that generates new jobs for people who are already there. The retention rate since 2019 is 74%. The program's own 2024 report puts it at 95% staying through the first year. Median home value in Tulsa is around $194,000 according to Zillow. Median household income is roughly $58,000. The cost of living for housing is about 34% below the national average. Oklahoma's property tax rate averages 0.89%. Tulsa has a diverse economy anchored by energy, aerospace, healthcare, and a growing tech sector. Healthcare access is strong, with multiple hospital systems including St. Francis Health System and Ascension St. John. Tulsa is also home to Oral Roberts University, the University of Tulsa, and a cultural district that includes the Philbrook Museum and the Woody Guthrie Center. What nobody tells you is that Tulsa Remote did not just move people. It moved the Overton window on economic development. Before Tulsa, cities recruited companies, offering tax breaks for headquarters and incentives for factories. Tulsa proved you could skip the middleman. Recruit the people directly. Let their income, their spending, their creativity do what a corporate headquarters does, but distribute it across neighborhoods and small businesses instead of concentrated in one office park. Picture this. You land in Tulsa having never set foot in Oklahoma. Within a week, the program connects you to a co-working space, a volunteer opportunity, and a neighborhood. Within a month, you have a favorite taco place, a running group, and an opinion about which part of town has the best sunsets. Within a year, you are not a transplant. You are a Tulsan. And statistically, you are staying. That is not a relocation program. That is a proof of concept for a different kind of American city. That is the Tulsa model. Every relocation video tells you where to run from. This one told you where you're wanted. And what ties this list together isn't the money. The checks range from $2,500 to $20,000. What connects these towns is a decision, a deliberate, funded, organized decision to say out loud what most American communities won't. We need you. We want you here. And we're willing to prove it. That's a shift. For decades, the default posture of small-town America toward outsiders was skepticism. Now, over 200 communities are flipping that script because the math demands it. Every $100,000 of new income that a remote worker brings generates roughly $83,000 of economic output. Every household that stays 3 years pays enough in property taxes and local spending to fund the incentive twice over. So here's the question worth sitting with. If these towns are willing to invest in you before you've even shown up, what does that say about the places that won't? Hit. Like, if you've ever moved somewhere and wished a single person had said welcome. Subscribe. Because this channel covers the parts of America that don't wait for the algorithm to notice them. Drop your town in the comments. Tell me if they'd welcome a stranger or side-eye them at the grocery store. I want to know. And if this one hit, go watch our video on the towns where nobody lives anymore. It's the opposite energy, and it's wild. The link is on screen.